Hey guys, how you doing today? I am kind of surprised that I actually am coming on live right now, but I just had to come on. So I hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a few days since I've actually been on a live, and I had intended to do two other live sessions last week, but that didn't work out so well. So I am going to try to catch up a little bit this week. It's just been a bear of a week, so I hope that you will still tune into those lives that are coming up. But yeah, I will be doing some more lives. Also, I actually wanted to come on live and do this episode or video or whatever because I have been watching New Jersey this season. I actually have been watching New Jersey since its inception. So I particularly do care for New Jersey. I do like the show. It's been a lot of ups and downs with friendships and, people coming, people going, all these types of things, the rumors that continue to persist, all those things that are of New Jersey. I figured, well, last night the season finale actually aired, and I wanted to do a bit of a kind of a I don't know, like a wrap up or where we are right now, right before we start getting into the reunion, which I actually did plan on recapping and reviewing for each one because I hear that's going to be a bit explosive and spicy. So, that being said, I thought, well, you know what? I was just so fascinated by the season finale that I thought I'd come on and let's just talk and discuss it and get it started right now. um, one, okay. Where do we start? Where do we begin? Because I really want to get right to the nitty gritty, which is the confrontation, so-called revelation that Danielle had shared in yesterday's episode at the party, which was a really nice party, by the way. I really did like the fact that Dolores has now claimed the home as her being the woman of the house. I was a little skeptical on that because, there's been so many homes, but I was happy to hear that and see that. I think she did a lovely party setup with Paulie for the ladies to come, and they had great food and great drink, and it was just a really nice, I guess, kind of like a Gatsby theme. And I really did, or maybe it's Prohibition, I'm not sure which one, but maybe around the same thing. Anywho, it was a lot of fun. It appeared to be before all heck broke loose. And if you watch the season finale, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So we're going to go ahead and just get into it, just start discussing it. I do want to share a few other things that I thought was interesting about yesterday's episode as well. We'd love to get your thoughts. Go ahead and drop those in the chat area or drop them in the comment section area if you are, here for the replay. Because again, like I said, I didn't intend to come on this early for a live, but it was just on my mind. And I figured before anything else got in there, because there's so much content that I'm working on right now to put together and get this out to y'all, that I thought, well, let's just go ahead and have this conversation right now. So hopefully y'all don't mind. But yeah, so we know that everything is set up really nice. Polly has a really beautiful home, by the way. What do you think about that home? I think it's gorgeous. And everything is set up. Dolores did a wonderful job. Dolores looked beautiful. And I like I guess like how the dancers, the Irish dancers they had out there. They just really got into that time frame. And everybody seemed like they were having a good time. Everybody dressed up. Everybody looked really good. The guys and the girls together both really went all out. And I think usually for theme parties, they do pretty good anyway. So it was really fun to see them in their element. And everybody just seemed like they were having such a good time. But have you been watching the show for the last at least couple of episodes or so, you know that the ladies did do a trip to Ireland. And it was a really nice opportunity for them to celebrate Teresa, kind of like a bridal type trip, pre-wedding. And I thought that was a really nice way to kind of send Teresa off in this next endeavor and chapter of her journey. And it really did seem to be really nice. The ladies did seem to get along for the most part. There seemed to be a lot of fun activities going on, and they did seem to enjoy themselves. So there's a lot of seeming there. I don't know how things went afterward. So of course we're thinking, hey, I think this is going to be okay, right? Like everything is going to just work itself out. And of course, there was always that brewing confrontational situation going on between Margaret and Danielle. Margaret not well, and also I think Rachel Fuda as well, right? Because she was so concerned about some of the things that she had shared or had a discussion with Margaret about. And Rachel apparently brought it back to the table with the other ladies to discuss some of the things that that had been shared with her. And I guess Danielle thought was going to be in confidence, but it turned out not to be quite that way. And so that was a big blow up, a big issue through some of the Ireland trip. Now, another so-called, I don't know, hot potato item is the fact that, again, we have yet another rumor about Melissa. And I don't know about you guys. I am not one to really be team anybody per se. Sometimes I appreciate what one of the cast members is doing over someone else, and then vice versa. I may not like everything that a cast member does. I'm never really like all in, because you never really know all of the behind the scenes. You only know what they show you in the show, right? Now, if you're one of those individuals who are able to dig in deeper and get all the juice and stuff behind them, that's great. But for the most part, a lot of us don't have that. So at the end of the day, we look at the episode and we're just going to kind of remark and talk about what we see. And, one of the things that I just am so over, and I feel it's been so overdone, is these so-called rumors. Now, I don't think that where Teresa and the other ladies, including Melissa, where they live is a very big, sprawling town. Okay. And so I just feel like if any of these things had real truth or merit to them, wouldn't it be executed in a different way? Wouldn't Joe know about it in a different way to where maybe it would resolve in them not being in a marriage anymore? Because I mean, between the stripper gate and the other rumors, it's so overdone. And I, for one, am so tired of a lot of the formulas that seem to be being played in the Real Housewives episodes from quite a few franchises, to be honest. The ones where they decide we're going to pick an individual and that's who we're going to attack for the whole entire season, while we hide our hands of all the stuff that's really going on in our own lives, which would be more interesting to watch anyways. Those types of things. Or, again, coming up with these random individuals who are not even cast members, throwing in the issues for them to fight about. And I'm over it. I'm just over it. I'm really hoping that a lot of these shows will have a change in formula come the next seasons. Real Housewives of Potomac is one. I did appreciate how, like, individuals like Candace was able to come in and really hold her own and stand her ground about that situation. And we won't go all the way into their season. But yeah, it's just enough is enough already. Like, I want to know about what you guys are doing, the ladies individually. And I'm not interested in some random individual who's not a cast member throwing in stones into the formula for people to debate about. And you may not even have any real evidence towards that claim. So again, here we go with another yet rumor. Now, is it because they don't feel that Melissa and Joe don't have enough content on their own to talk about? I don't know. I just don't understand the constant rumor of her being with somebody else. Haven't her and Joe been together for like a zillion years now? They have kids, the kids are growing up, they're obviously, I'm sure, pretty much social media savvy. They know things that are going on. So it's just kind of like enough is enough. Like, when are we going to get to a point where we're going to stop trying to tear down the family structure? Now, I know it's controversial and a bit scandalous because we have some individuals who are very, very passionate about Teresa and agree with everything she does and says and feels. I'm not one of them. I really think it's sad of the demise of the family structure. I really do. I think that there seems to be no lesson learned by their parents and what went on with her father, in particular with his sister, which brings in the cousins of Rosie and oh gosh, I can't think of the other sister's name. If you could think of her name, drop it in the box for me. I just kind of drew a blank there, but I just think it's sad. I just think it's, we put all this information, air it out on national TV for what? And there's no resolve. They haven't talked to each other in a long time. And it's just really unfortunate. And it just seems to be one of those things that perpetuated to the next generation, when things like this often do, right? If things aren't resolved and shown how you resolve these issues, then it always seems to carry on to the next generation. And I just think what a sad legacy to have left behind. I understand that, we get into relationships sometimes with people where your family members may not be too keen on who you're dating or who you're with or who you're going to get married. And we get it. But if we're grown, we're adult, it is your decision. I don't think that anyone should be attacking anybody. I don't think anybody should be, I don't know, getting private detectives to get information on everybody on the cast. Like, what is that about? But we're going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, just those types of things that I just so over. I don't know about you, but if you feel the same, go ahead and drop it in the chat or in the comment section. I would really like to know your thoughts about that. And it's okay if you like either one of the ladies more or the other. That's fine. It's just more about, what you think about how these types of things continue to keep happening. Like, it's the same argument for the last 10 years that we keep hearing about Teresa, Melissa, and Joe. And I would love to see some growth there. And is growth necessarily mean that it's got to be pulling apart? Does that mean that they can no longer exist in the same setting with one another without tearing each other down and then dragging the children and all that kind of stuff involved in this, which then carries it on to another generation? So it's just really unfortunate on that front. But here we go again. Now, Danielle, which is quite interesting. I don't know if Danielle wants to be a bone collector or what exactly is going on there. But she wants to tell Melissa how she feels under the guise of trying to be a good friend or a decent friend. And I can understand how that would feel, right? You're in a group with a bunch of ladies or men, whatever the case may be. And if you got someone who's talking and running their mouth about something else, or some rumor is being talked about, you don't want to be that person looking and smiling in that person's face and just acting like everything's okay when you know this piece of information is out there. So I get that. What I don't necessarily get, okay, now we're talking from what would be good for TV and maybe what would be good for an actual real relationship, meaning a friendship between the two. But what I don't get is the location, the timing of that. Like, this is something that could have happened at a kitchen table somewhere else, where it did not have to blow up into the sense that it did that night. But again, it made great TV. But I did agree with Rachel on that front. Like, this is something you could have talked and discussed with Melissa about this rumor in another setting, right? They were having such a wonderful time at this party. And so therefore, that's really should have been the focus. And then we could have clipped into afterwards and then did the whole telephone conversation back and forth, all of that good stuff about what happened with this rumor, and just for once, enjoy a party in its full, proximity, which is something that the ladies don't seem to ever get a chance to do. They don't seem to be able to enjoy a full on event, whether it is a meal eating event or a sightseeing event. I mean, the most, I think, calm we have saw was what happened in Ireland. So I don't know. It just, maybe they just felt that, we need some more action, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, so we get to the point where everybody's having a good time, and Danielle decides, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have this conversation with Melissa. I'm going to let her know what's going on. The craziness of it all is that Melissa already knew, right? She sits her down on the couch. She says, look, I'm just going to basically tear the Band-Aid off, right? I'm just going to get right to the chase. And that's one thing I do appreciate about Danielle. She just gets right to it. Let's just get on with it. And that's exactly what she did. So she sits Melissa down at this party and she talks to Melissa about the fact of this rumor that's out there, the rumor being that she allegedly was seen in a car by someone, or had been telephoned to that someone, that she was allegedly in the back of a car. Now, the person who was spewing this breadcrumbs, if you will, is, I guess, an old friend of Margaret's or an ex-friend of Margaret's. And I think her name is Lori or Laura, whatever, a non-cast member throwing something into the mix where we don't know or see anything from this person. And, is there really any proof or evidence? What is it that you have that shows that, yeah, this is what took place? So we are now running off of this random stranger person who comes and says, hey, Margaret told me this. And clearly, or at least it appears to me anyways, that this person has a bit of an axe to grind with Margaret, right? She's not, obviously, their falling out has led them into a situation where she feels like she's got, I guess, things to share, things to say to them, things to let them know about, whether they're, I guess, real or not. So I would think everything's alleged right now, because again, I'm not going to necessarily be just believing everything you say. But that being said, that's what we're doing here, it appears. We're just going to run with it because some random person said this is what happened. Where's the proof? Where's the pictures? Where's the proof? and saying that somebody else, who again you don't get to see at all, says, "Oh well, I think this person did this," or "Yes, I this person did do this." I just Is that what we're doing now? I mean, we're just believing what everybody and anyone says. you know, it's insane. So again, Melissa has let it be known she is fully aware of what is going on. That apparently Teresa had called over Joe to speak with her and Louis and wanted him to come by himself. This is what we're hearing initially. That what was going on, because it was in the gist of, well, we need you to not be made the fool, but this is what we're hearing. We want you to, Louis steps in and says, basically get ahead of the situation. Well, apparently, whatever took place in that conversation, Joe was not here for it. And he went back, told his wife, which is naturally what he should have done. And it's been kind of one of those quiet, kept secrets of conversation for quite some time, 6 months or so. And she just kind of left alone, but it let Melissa believe again, this is who I'm dealing with. This is who Teresa is to me. Because had we not learned anything from the stripper gate just so many 5, 6, 7 or so seasons ago, and it was just, again, just more of the same. And this constant defaming of this woman in this way is just, honestly, it is so toxic, and it really is disgusting, because unless you have some real true ironclad proof, I don't think anybody really cares anymore. And why should they? But at the same time, what's happening is you've got this family member who really could be taking this opportunity to try to bond on some level. It's just constantly, imploding and exploding in front of our eyes. And it's really sad. And they have never been able to get, they being Melissa and Joe and Teresa and who Teresa ever was with, were never able to get on the same respectable playing field. Is it really because someone's upset about the fact that Melissa and Joe got on the show? Is this really where this is stemming from? Is this really why we continue to keep berating and just going after Melissa in the way that we are? Again, like I said, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm Team Melissa or Team Teresa, blah, blah, blah. There's some things I like about Teresa, and there's some things I don't care for how she handles things. And there's things vice versa with Melissa. But I'm just like, I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think, but I'm of the mindset that enough is enough with that. Can we get on with something else to talk about, right? But yeah, so that to me was a bit of surprise that Melissa already knew about this situation. I was taken aback, and I thought, oh my gosh, well, this is such a hot ticket thing that maybe there's going to be some conversation about this, or maybe would have been, I don't know, but maybe would have been some more discussion about it during the reunion, because I can't see how long we're going to hold this in, because that's a pretty big deal, right? And so, of course, with that situation happening, Melissa feels that she's kind of this puppet, tear the strings pulling of Danielle, and set it up for Danielle to do this unveiling of information, wanting to embarrass her in this party. So it just went completely left, right? She was very matter of fact with Danielle, she being Melissa, and letting her know that she was fully aware of this, and this is what is going on. And of course, she's wondering too at the same time, is this something Teresa's putting you up to? Is Teresa put you up to doing this kind of ambush situation? Now, of course, Teresa is on the other side of the room with the party with Louis, doesn't even know what is going on. But at the same time, Margaret is over there in another corner, and she's seeing this confrontation or unveiling, we'll say, because it hasn't quite become a confrontation, right? But this unveiling, and she's constantly seeing her mouth pop out of Danielle's lips, constantly her name. And she's like, okay, she keeps talking about, there's something going on. My name keeps being said. So Margaret's like, I'm going right on over there. And she does just that. And y'all, that was something because I don't think I've ever really seen Margaret as upset as I saw her in last night's episode. Yes, her and Jennifer go back and forth, but there was something different. There was something on the underneath. And I'm kind of thinking that there's a little bit more to the story than even what's being shared. But she is aware, she being Margaret, that apparently her friend is the one dropping this so-called tea, and it makes Margaret look bad, as if Margaret's the one that's actually going around and stirring up this trouble and saying this information. Because if I'm not mistaken, the friend is saying that Margaret told her about this situation. So of course, there's been some behind the scene chatter that, Margaret may have already have, and this is all alleged because I don't know for sure, but that maybe she'd already had a conversation or so with Melissa about this thing. And they this was not something they were going to bring up or anything that they were going to move forward with, because it's so unbelievable. Like, who believes this? And even Danielle herself says, look, I don't believe this. And on Watch What Happens Live the same night, which I think was yesterday, was it? Or maybe the day before? I'm not 100% sure. Might have been the day before. I don't know. But she had mentions it, or not mentions it, but when she's questioned from Andy during, their interview spot, she basically says, look, I don't believe that she did it. So, I don't either. So I'm like, why are we bringing this up anymore? Like, again, for that purpose, but I know it's for the show, right? It's got to be for the show, that I'm thinking that it really is just for that, because this is something you could have just brought up. You could have had a phone call with her, off camera maybe, or even off camera in a scene. It just didn't have to be enveloped, and put out there for everyone else to see, because yet here we'll go again with calling Melissa a trollop, in other words, right? Like, she's always out there doing something she got no business doing. And I just don't believe that that's what Melissa's doing. I think Joe and Melissa are very much in love. And I think that they show that all the time. They seem very unbreakable to me. Maybe there might be other people might say differently, but I just don't think, they may argue at times. What couple doesn't? What couple doesn't have an issue here and there every so often? All couples do. It's natural. It's normal, right? But it's about how you get through those things, how you continue to stay together, how you are able to move forward without destroying what you have spent so many years building up. And I think that is one of the most sad things about these types of rumors, because one, I don't believe it's true. For a minute do I believe that Melissa has done anything questionable in that way against Joe. I just don't see it. And I don't see that if she did, and it was made a knowledge of any other family member, that they would even tolerate Melissa doing that to Joe, right? I just don't see that. So why would we keep fueling that fire? What do we have to gain? Is it just to continually try to defame her? To no end? At this point, it's like, it's not even believable. So, and it really wasn't believable before, right? But at least when you did it the first time around, you get people kind of thinking, I wonder. And then you have others who sit there and say, maybe not so much. But when you keep going to the well for the same thing, it just becomes a little bit, I don't know, contrite. So yeah, it just was really, really not a good reveal situation. So Margaret comes to Danielle and says, look, why are you dropping my name? Why are you talking about me? What is going on? I want to know what's happening. She's very demanding of that. Danielle is like, well, you told me about this and I'm just telling her about the rumor and you said it. And Margaret is livid. Okay. She is absolutely livid. And I know that there's a lot of scandalous controversy around Margaret as well, because apparently she supposedly has all this information of all the cast members to use at any point of disposal. I don't know if I see that. I'm not saying that she doesn't know things. It's a small town. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of things that everybody knows about everybody, including Margaret. So at the end of the day, do I necessarily see her dropping all those teas? Maybe not. It just depends on the situation. But nevertheless, Margaret was very upset. Because again, now she's gotten a friend, an ex-friend, mind you, who was sitting here spewing her name out in such a degrading way. She's not even on the show. So I understand how infuriated Margaret was about this. And she had enough. And so, of course, Daniel's like, why are you messing with this messenger? I'm just the messenger. Well, so was Lori, right? She was a messenger as well. So was Margaret, for that matter. She's a messenger as well. So I guess they don't have the same she doesn't have the same feeling about that as she does for herself, because Margaret is like going in to the point where I thought they were going to have fisticuffs, y'all. I really did. I don't think I've ever seen Melissa have to hold anybody back. Maybe Teresa a long time ago. I don't know, but it's not something you see very often, and not from Margaret. Margaret had busted her wrist earlier on the first episode of the season. So, I'm like, honey, you're a little delicate here. Let's not do anything else to cause any more issues. But Margaret was on fire. She was not having it. She wanted to get down there and say, look, we're done here. We're going to stop talking this mess, and I have nothing to do with it. You're going to keep my name out your mouth. That's what Margaret was saying. And Danielle, of course, she's a bit of a firecracker herself. And so she's like, look, I'm not going to sit here and be treated like that. So I'm getting up and we're about to go at it. And here the two women are going at it. And honestly, this is about some stupid rumor that I don't even think anything about that rumor is credible, right? Which usually rumors aren't credible, but sometimes they are until they're proven. But at the end of the day, it's not. I don't think it is, anyways. So then you have everybody popping off, right? You've got Melissa trying to hold off Margaret from taking out Danielle. You got Danielle over here just going all ham. You got the men just looking like bewildered and, oh my gosh, here we go again. And then you have Louis that comes up and starts getting involved as well, because then Teresa gets involved, right? Because at this point, this was something that was not mentioned as far as that so-called get-together meetup that they had 6 months ago. And so everything is just popping off one after another, after another. And then Melissa says, as Teresa's trying to figure out what's going on, this is you, what you did, and then starts spewing about the fact, 6 months ago, you called my husband over there, you wanted to tell him about this, and that I'm cheating on him, or I'm kissing on somebody, and this was not true, and da 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 da. And Teresa's like, get off of me. And I'm just sitting there thinking, this ain't on you yet, honey. But it was taken aback, as Teresa usually is, or at least gives off that vibe. And of course, Louis, her knight in shining armor, is going to run up and try to save the situation. But what I don't care for is when a man decides that it's a good idea to come after the woman. You can go after the guys all you want. I don't find anything wrong with that. But you don't address Melissa and then expect Joe not to say anything. Because I'm telling you, as I was sitting there, I was like, Joe, Joe. So yeah, it's just, and he got, he got up there and he did his thing, and of course they're yelling back and forth and everything like that. But it just was so annoying to just, I don't know. I just don't have good vibes for everything that's going on. Like, I really, really want to be happy for Teresa. I don't know Teresa from Adam, okay? But I really want her to be happy because, as someone who has watched New Jersey since the beginning, I've seen the ups and downs, just like I'm sure many of you, if you've watched the series for that length of time as well. And there's been a lot of not so flattering things, i.e. the situation of going away, i.e. the phone call in the vineyard that Joe was apparently having with someone, that was very degrading towards Teresa. We all heard it. So I, for one, wanted so much for Teresa to have a happy, copacetic relationship with someone, and preferably one that got along with everybody. And I don't know what is real here. I don't know if Louis really is this dynamic individual or not, as far as those two coming together and wanting to bridge the family together, because he does come off authentic at first, but then all of a sudden there's this big huge blow up that I don't understand. It seemed a bit rehearsed to me. Now he would probably say, no, that's not true. And I don't know Louis, so but I've seen and heard a lot of things that were not that flattering. But again, you still want to be happy for Teresa. Look, she's grown, she knows what she's doing, right? She's of a certain age. There's no reason why she shouldn't know what's best for her. Her daughters are growing up, and she's got a couple of them. At least one of them is a full-blown adult, and they're getting older and they're doing what they have to do. And if it works, it works, as long as he's not mistreating girls, he's not mistreating Teresa. Louis does make good TV. But if you are looking for the perspective of, is this a healthy situation? I kind of feel, for me personally, and this is just my not so humble opinion, but the jury's out on that, right? I'm waiting to see if there's going to be more opportunities that will come about in which I will feel differently. And I really want that, because I just don't like when you have an entity that comes from the outside, that comes into a family structure, one that may or may not necessarily already be in a position of vulnerability, and then you become that element that pulls them apart even further. It should be all about bringing everybody together. That's what you should be all about. And I don't know And if you guys do know, if there's something that I have missed, let me know in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching the replay, because I would like to know, what exactly are we arguing about? Why is this such still an issue? The parents passed away, right? Teresa and Joe's parents passed away. I really had hoped, I had high hopes actually, for there to be a real sustained reconciliation of the two families. And it just seems like that's just not what's happening. It may have lasted for all of about half of a season directly after the passings, and then it just went back into this toxic situation. So who is to blame, right? Who is actually keeping this toxicity going? Now, some may say that they feel Melissa is the one doing it. Why is it Melissa? I would want to know. If you feel that Melissa and Joe were the problem, tell me why. Just what's your thoughts about that? Why do you think that they're the issue? Or do you think it's Teresa? And if you think it's Teresa, tell me why you think Teresa's the issue. What is it that, is such a hindrance for both siblings to come together with their gorgeous families that are growing up, and I would hate for them to continue this cycle of generational, what's the word, separation, if you will, of family. And no, Teresa, you cannot. And I'll say this, okay? And I don't want to go too far off from what we're talking about, which is the party. But I want to make a mention about this as I'm thinking about this. I did see, like I said, Watch What Happens Live also subsequently with Teresa, and I forget who the other person was on. I see her face, but I can't think of her name. And, I did appreciate some of the responses Teresa had given and some of the questions that Andy had asked. And one of them, was basically being asked in one of those games that he likes to play about if she's replacing her family with Louis' family. And I was like, oh, here we go. She's gonna say yes. And I'm gonna feel devastated because it just seems like such a wrong answer to have. And she says, no, they're great, but I'm not replacing my family. And right, because there's no way you can do that. Okay. You cannot replace anybody. People are not replaceable. Okay. I understand that, she may feel like I want to be more connected with them. I feel more connected with that's because you haven't had any issues or any fallouts with them. That doesn't mean that won't happen later on. And there seems to be a whole lot of high volatility happening. And I don't know if, give it some time, right? A lot of times when you have a lot of family members, you never know when someone might decide to pop off, right? So I'm glad that things are going well thus far. That's the way that we should see things. As you're going into a new family, you're marrying into a new family, you are to feel like you're supported. You are to feel like people will have your back. You are to feel like they, at least give you a chance before you completely obliterate everything. I appreciate that of Louis' family. I think that's great. Again, you never know what can happen in the future. So no, we're not replacing anybody. And do I think that Louis and all his family members need to be involved? And it's just Louis at this moment. But I can see this getting into this big thing where everybody's getting involved between the two siblings. And I just don't understand why two very grown adults can't just have a conversation. No one in the sphere, including even Melissa, has every bit of information about those two because they're the siblings, right? It was their parents that passed. It was their family situation. Melissa was also one that came into it. And I think Melissa might have been around for 20 plus years. I'm not 100% sure, but she's been around for a very long time. However, it's still between Teresa and Joe. So I don't know. I know that there's a lot of people who feel like Teresa and Joe are done, that there's just no coming back from a lot of stuff that's going on. The reunion, I believe, is going to be airing next week. I'm going to be, glued to the screen. I don't know about you. I hope that you will be, because I would love to come back and discuss and recap and review afterwards, have a discussion about this, because I know it's going to be a tumultuous, I think 3-part, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe 2 or 3 parts. I'm not one. I might be getting mixed up with Vanderpump Rules, but I'm sure gonna be more than 1 part episode. And I'm here for it. I mean, I love all the reunions. You get a lot of revealing information from the reunions. And of course, a lot of times those reunions do bring you into the next season, because there's not always a long break. Although I do hear that there's possibly some behind the scenes going on where they may be putting them a little bit on a pause right now, because things are pretty hot as far as the results were of their reunion. So But, we'll be here for that, of course. But getting back to the party from last night's season finale, it was just mayhem, right? And of course, going back to Louis, of course he's trying to defend Teresa, and I do understand now, but let's not do so much going back and forth with Melissa, because that's not going to be okay. I'm not saying you can't have a conversation. I'm not one of those who feel like, oh no, you can't have, even a sparring moment, but be very careful that that line is thin between sparring and being disrespectful. And just don't do that, right? And the luscious words of Dr. Heavenly, you don't be, I ain't fighting with no man, like that back and forth. You're not gonna be talking to me crazy. That's not gonna happen. So, and I totally agree with that, by the way. But yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Of course, everybody's just completely, it's just in a combustible situation. You have everybody yelling, screaming, arguing. The one thing that I thought was nice about the party, though, was that Danielle and Rachel were trying to come to a place of understanding, consensus, to try to see if they can move forward, because, hey, they were the two newbies for this season. And there really isn't truly any reason why they cannot get along. Now, it seems to me that some people don't really have a great fondness for Rachel. And I don't really know why, because I like Rachel. I like Rachel. So I don't know why they can't get along either. And they felt the same way too. They didn't know why they couldn't get along. So yeah, hopefully that will change. And I think I'm about to sneeze. But don't you just hate that? He's like right there. Oh my gosh, like it's like the worst time. But yeah, so Rachel's over there trying to calm down Danielle because things just got so out of hand. And she's trying to say, is there any way we can move? Is there some resolve? Because even Rachel, shares it. Look, this was not the best idea, right? We don't just take random information from a random source without any real proof and throw this out as if this is something to talk about. So I understand Danielle's perspective of wanting to talk to Melissa and let her know this is what's going on and being said behind your back. And I don't want to be that person going to you face to face and pretending like nothing is happening and, smiling your face when I know this stuff is going on. And then you have Rachel says, look, you could have found a better time to do that. Maybe not this party, because like the party was lit. It really was. But as all parties and events happen in most Real Housewives world, it came to an end. At this point, I did like the little gift bags that people were coming back out, probably with food and all kinds of stuff. Because it's like, why is the party got to stop? Everybody was having such a good time. But anywho, Danielle, of course, was also letting it be known how she basically kissed her tail. I forget what she said as she was dropping it low and all that stuff about Margaret. But anyways, I don't think there's anything going to be resolved between Margaret and Danielle at the moment. Maybe as time goes on, it'll be a little bit different. We'll see how the reunion goes. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. And of course, we see Louis and Teresa, because they're about done. They go ahead and exit, I think probably first. And then everybody else is just kind of following suit and leaving. I think Joe Gorga and Melissa left, and then just kind of went on and on and on and on. And of course, Dolores was very upset about how things fell apart, but Dolores can't control these people, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're all grown, and it is what it is. She still did throw a lovely party. And yeah, I think that it was great, and it's unfortunate that things ended the way that they did, but at least it looked like they got a good amount of party time in before it completely exploded. So that being said, we kind of clipped a little bit to, I don't know, I guess the next day, right? Where things are settled. The dust is now settled. The events of the night before have really come really into full focus and view. I believe that Melissa had just really, at this point, she looked like she really was. And I believe she even said, I'm just done. I'm done. Right. So she's outside in her backyard and sitting at her outdoor furniture table. Dolores gives her a call, basically wants to know if she's still going to go to the events, because I know there was some conversation from the last episode from last week that they being Melissa and Joe, not able to make the rehearsal dinner. That was a bone of contention, but they were probably going to make the wedding. But at the end of the day, this is what was going on. And like Melissa said, look, I can't go and celebrate someone else's marriage when they're doing so much to break down mine. I just don't see that. And I'm I'm here with Melissa on that. I agree with that. I mean, how am I going to sit here and be like, oh, okay, great. Even though I may feel like I'm really happy for you, but you keep definitely contacting, you keep attacking my marriage, my relationship, my fidelity, our issues. These things affect our family. It's not just me and Joe, but it affects my family, it affects the people I work with, because now you got this information out there and all of this stuff that probably isn't true. I don't think it is. And it just causes all this unnecessary tension. It makes the gap wider. And I feel like at this point, it is going to make it very difficult for Melissa and Teresa, not just Teresa and Joe, to really come together. Because at the end of the day, it's a trust thing. Melissa cannot trust Teresa. And that's just on period. She cannot trust her. There's every time she's always going to be wondering, is she talking behind my back? Is she orchestrating something behind my back? Is she getting people riled up and kind of doing her dirty work for her while she sits back to watch the situation happen? And these are just things that are normal that would come to mind. And so I feel really bad about how that went down. I really felt that Melissa just looked like she was done. And that was it for her, right? So the whole wedding now invitation, you can do what you like with that, because I'm not going to be there, and neither is Joe. So yeah, Dolores asked the question. She's like, I feel like if you guys don't go, and this now, of course, is a phone conversation. If you guys don't go, I feel like this is going to be it. And then she says, what you don't understand is it's been over for a while. So yeah, and I like Dolores. Dolores is trying so hard to kind of stay in the middle, be neutral, be friends with each person, but sometimes it's just a really bad place to be in, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I know she has love for Melissa. She has love for Teresa. A lot of people can look at the situation from the outside and say, look, this is what you could be doing to change these things. And they're just stuck in this loop, right? They're stuck in this way that they just cannot, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's shame. I don't know what it is, but they just can't get past whatever it is to be able to have a true conversation. Sorry about that. A true conversation in order to get to the bottom of really what's the problem and start making amends. Say the sorry, say whatever you need to say, give the apologies, give the space needed. And I'm really, really, if the issue is because you guys came on this show and I didn't want you on the show, I'm not here for it. Because at the end of the day, this show is not Teresa's show. It is the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I know she has been there for, the inception. She is probably the only one there that's been since the inception now, because everybody is gone. Yeah, I think so. And so that's great. But she doesn't own the rights to the show. She doesn't own the cast members. She doesn't own those types of things. She has a very good relationship, a long-standing one. Yes. But should she be making all the decisions about how the show should go and who should be on there? No. There's enough to go around. And I just feel like it's such an insecure place to be if you are so concerned. I personally think that one of the nice things about New Jersey that's not really the same in any other of the Housewife franchises is they do have that family bond element. Well, I don't want to say about bond, but they do have that family feel to that franchise. And that's one thing that I really do like about each franchise, has a little something different in each one that kind of makes you endure to it for that reason. And even though with Salt Lake, you've got Heather and who was it? Whitney, who they're cousins. And I don't know how they're doing right now, because last I saw, they were struggling. They were doing it for a little while, but I kind of always felt like that's going to explode at some point. And that's exactly what happened, But I think that the one thing I really did like, even when Carolyn Manzo was on and Dina, before all of the treachery took years later, and Jacqueline as well, I really like that family feel. It just felt like, I think it came on Sunday nights then too. We just came home for Sunday dinner all the time. And it was a really nice feel. It was a nice formula to have for that. And then things just changed. So yeah, I feel like they really do need to get to the bottom of the situation and come to some kind of resolution that we can move forward and we could stop doing things that we said we're going to stop doing, and stop harboring on things as well. If you said you're over this and you're done, then be over it and be done. Don't bring it back up. Don't continue to keep acting in a way as if it's still an issue for you. Forgive and forget, maybe so for some things, because you never always really forget, right? If you really feel you were truly hurt, you can forgive and you can move forward, or you can make the decision that maybe we just can't be in the same space. And you know what? That may end up being the case. But I would so hate it if they had felt the need to make a choice between the two ladies of who was going to be there, because quite frankly, I would rather say Melissa. But I know that that's, but Teresa, I know, is the show too. So yeah, they need to get it together. Stop making it so hard for us. So that's just my thoughts on that. But yeah, so, she does continue with Dolores, tells Dolores, look, I'm just not feeling it. We're not doing it. It is done. It is over. There's nothing else to talk about, basically, right? So Dolores is actually having this conversation, I believe, by the way, while she's on her way to Teresa's home. Jennifer Aiden's already there, and they're already kind of discussing things and just taking, because I almost forgot about that. Jennifer Aiden's blow up with Margaret. Like, okay. Here's my thoughts about this, right? I don't want to hear about this next season, because the bottom line is Jennifer Aiden and Bill, they had that situation. It happened. It happened. And you're on a reality show. So at the end of the day, when you keep poking at somebody else's situation, whether it's right or wrong, and Jennifer poked a lot at Margaret, do you think at some point Margaret wasn't going to come back with something else? Okay. So Jennifer should not have been surprised. Sorry. Now, Jennifer is one of those people, I think she could take it as well as she gives it. But her going off in that party and talking about her daughter and wanting to be a doctor or love doctor because of their situation, I'm just like, okay. Enough of the drama. Oh my gosh, enough of the drama. But I guess you save the drama for the show. Look, I hope that Jennifer and Bill keep it together. I don't know if they will. I hope they do. I really do, because it's very devastating what happened. And quite frankly, it should not have happened, obviously. But then you hear Jennifer say, stupid stuff about, hey, you're a filthy cheater, but not my husband. Okay, is he a clean cheater? I mean, I don't get it. What's the difference, And then I think she threw out something about the fact, well, the woman had threw herself at him. What difference does it make? The woman wasn't married to you. Bill was married to you. So yeah, that was crazy. But you definitely saw a very much a guttural reaction from Jennifer in response to Margaret in the evening of that party, right? You definitely saw that. I felt like we saw a feeling from Jennifer that we may not have quite saw. Clearly she's upset. Clearly she's embarrassed. All of those things are warranted. All those things are right. I do feel, though, that the trajectory of her anger is at the wrong person. That's just my thought. Here's my thing. I don't feel that Margaret would have brought up anything to do about that situation with Bill had Jennifer not had kept coming after her. Now, that may be a controversial statement to make. There may be people that feel differently on both sides, feel like, no, that Jennifer did not deserve that. It's not a really, to me, opinion of whether she deserved it or not. It's just about consequences, that if you keep going after somebody in that arena and you are vulnerable yourself, then you can't get upset. I mean, I guess you can, but don't be surprised when that person finds out this tidbit of information, because they're tired of you constantly coming after them. And there's been so many ups and downs and maybes. We're going to get past the situation with Margaret and Jennifer, and they just don't seem to successfully be able to do it. I don't know if that's going to change for into this season, but after that party last night, I just don't see how it's going to go in the right direction anytime soon. But I do hope so, because we get it. You're upset. You are hurt. You have a right to be upset and hurt. But I want to see that full on energy and anger towards your husband, not so much Margaret. Whatever Margaret said by putting out there, it was a matter of time before that was going to come out there. And if you are concerned about that, then maybe not have touched that nerve with Margaret. Because quite frankly, she had been touching that nerve quite a bit before Margaret came out with that dagger. What did you expect? That's just all I felt. What did you expect? And I like Jennifer Aiden. I mean, sometimes she gets on my nerves, but at the end of the day, there's moments where I actually liked her more in this season than I have in past seasons. I just thought she was kind of a hot mess all the time. Something shifted for me with Jennifer in this season, where now I feel a little less angst with her, but she was a little bit funnier. I really enjoyed and I will sidestep up a little bit, but I really did enjoy, her doing what she did for her brother because she's very much about family, and I appreciate that. I love that about Jennifer, and that is what makes me endure to Jennifer. I don't like a lot of her antics, but look, she makes good TV. She's good for the show. There's no doubt about that, right? I do prefer her than some of the other antagonists. So at the end of the day, she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, and I can appreciate that. I think she's a very good mother. I think she really loves her family. I think that she was in a hard position with her mother and her father, and I appreciate that for her because that's a reality for a lot of people, and I think that she handled it in a very beautiful way, to be honest with you, and had to carry a lot. And I understand that, and there's traditions and all that other stuff that keeps us in a position that you feel like you've got to constantly be bowing down in situations that you should not be bowing down to. But I appreciate Jennifer's plight. I appreciate her story. So I'm not really feeling anything about Jennifer in any real negative way, right? But I just felt like, could you just give that energy to Bill? I mean, honestly, Margaret is not really your enemy here. It really is Bill. And I mean, truth be told, it really seems like the person, whoever he had the affair with, is the one that's getting off scot-free. Quite frankly, I mean, my goodness, her name's not being dragged in the mud, is it? No, it seems to be Margaret. So yeah, I don't want to hear about that no more. Um, but we'll see, because Jennifer and Bill, they're supposed to be continuing with, well, Bill doesn't really want to, right? Jen wants to, and I think it's a good idea for them to continue counseling. If nothing else, just to be able to see where they can go from here, how they continue to build from here. I get he's not going to want to talk too much about the situation. I think it's been like 10 years now or something like that. And that's fine. But just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't mean that there's people have real feelings about that. And doesn't mean it won't come up at different times. So just saying, I don't want to talk about it, shut that down doesn't do anything for anybody. Right. So hopefully they will be able to come to some resolution on that, because I really would love to see Jennifer and Bill to continue on in their family structure, because they do have a beautiful family and a beautiful home with all her bathrooms. But yeah, I like Jennifer. She has a comedic thing about her that she can be funny. Now, when she gets a little too vicious, it can kind of be annoying. But for the most part, I like Jennifer. So that being said, that was a little bit of a sidetrack, I know. But getting back to kind of wrapping up the party situation and the aftermath of that, with Jennifer and Dolores at Teresa's home and Louis coming in during that conversation, them discussing the party, how bananas it went, and really, I guess Teresa trying to defend herself, basically saying, look, it wasn't even me that wanted Joe to come here. I knew Melissa was going to say this and make it my fault, but it wasn't me that wanted to do this. It was Louis that wanted to do, because Louis wanted Joe to be able to get ahead of whatever this rumor was that was mysteriously going to be unearthed. And even if it was a rumor that wasn't made to light, why are we attacking the situation to make it come to light? Let it be on this dead of the streets. If that's where it's at, let it stay there. It didn't have to come to the show, right? So there's that. But, we'll have to see how that goes about. But now Teresa is, saying, look, she's relieved about the situation. She's relieved that they're not coming. She's just relieved, right? It's basically a load lifted off. And I think a lot of that just because now she doesn't have to deal. Now she can kind of sit in her bubble, if you will, and say, look, they're the ones that did this. They're the ones that said this. I invited them. They made the decision not to come. When you are that way, it allows you to not take the appropriate, accountability and responsibility for your actions during that time, because it leaves you to be like, they're the problem. They did this. They did that. They don't want to fix it. No. They're the issue. And I just think that's really sad. And I think that from what I saw, the wedding was beautiful. And we are going to see basically a wedding presentation, if you will, a wedding episode. I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but it's coming. Their wedding series, like they've done in the past for other Real Housewife women. And we'll get to see some of the things that we were not able to see in the show, because I thought that when last night's episode was extended, I figured that we were going to get a piece of that, and we really didn't. So I'm like, I want to see the wedding, because from what I saw in pictures and film and all that stuff, it looked beautiful. And I want to see, because I want to see some happiness here for these ladies. So, and here's the thing, if Teresa is happy and she is in love and he is doing the right things for her, he being Louis, then more power to her, because that woman has been embarrassed enough. She's had to deal with enough. And I think that everybody should have that special someone who makes them feel safe and secure. And if that is what he does, and it's legitimate and it's not Stockholm syndrome-ish, then I'm here for it. But I guess time will tell. We will see. But I'm going to need Louis to calm down a little bit. I think that there was a lot of vitriol that came about, and not so much even last night's episode, but the episodes from last week. And I didn't really care for a lot of things that were being said. And I don't understand why you're putting yourself in a position to have to be like a wedge between them getting together. There is no issue for you, in my eyes, that you benefit. Why? How? Or that it's a deficit to you. How? If she has a relationship with her brother or not. You should want that. You've got a relationship with your siblings. And even if he says things that, Joe says things that Teresa doesn't like, and back and forth, you think that Joe likes everything Teresa says to him? No. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, enough already. Let them do what they need to do. I don't know. This doesn't seem to be any real opportunity for either one of them to have anyone that can kind of talk to them and say, look, enough is enough. So maybe one day they'll be able to get to that point, but we'll see. I don't know. It's just sad, isn't it? It's just so sad. But yeah, so that's what we are headed with that. It was quite the party. Started off really nice, ended off not that great, but that's usually how they all are. We did get the chance to see some of the things that are happening, since the taping, I guess, end of the taping or whatever. We did see that Rachel Fuda did successfully, I had to read that twice, on the screen, that she successfully adopted her stepson, now her adopted son. So congratulations to Rachel on that. I heard some rumblings and behind the scenes, that had to do with the biological mother maybe not being so keen on that whole situation. But according to what we saw last night, it successfully went through. So it's done, which is quite fast, if you ask me. I'm surprised it went as fast as it did, but it's been about 6 months plus. It doesn't always take that much time. So whatever rumblings that was out there, unless we hear something different, I don't know if you can hear that beeping sound or not. If you can, my apologies. I don't know what they're doing out there. But yeah, but Rachel Fuda and being able to adopt her stepson, now her son, I think is a beautiful thing. They have a beautiful family. He really wanted it to happen. He has, been in Rachel's life. Rachel's been in his life, however you want to say it, for so many years. He already looks at her as a mother figure. Whatever the situation is with his biological mother, we wish her well, but I really am happy for him being in a content and happy home. And that is what is important. And she has been there as a mother figure. She has been doing the work, and that is what needs to be rewarded. And it was rewarded by them being able to continue in a relationship they both want to have, being mother and son. And I am so happy for them both, for that entire family. I am looking forward to Rachel being back next season. I am not interested in seeing anyone actually gone. I know this is going to be controversial, but I do want my girl Jackie to come back. I like Jackie. But I do like Rachel, and I do want to see her, and I want to see more of the family dynamic in that positive light of that adoption, and see more of that adoption story in next season. I do hope that we get to see some of that. So yes, congratulations to Rachel and her family on that adoption successfully going through, unless we see her anything else, but that's what it said. And then of course we see Danielle is, unfortunately she's got the situation with her brother that it's just not, opening up. Maybe there'll be an opportunity between her and her brother where he will feel inclined to contact her, or, reach out to her or whatever. Or if she tries to reach out to him, he'll be responsive to that, and they'll be able to start to find ways to mend their situation. Do I think there's more to that than what she is sharing? I do. I know Teresa shared on Watch What Happens Live. She doesn't think that there's more to it, that she thinks that whatever Danielle has shared is what it is. I think there's more to it. That's just my thoughts. You let me know what you think. But whatever it is, hopefully they'll find some way to get together. And whatever it is, it's pretty huge. I mean, it's a big deal, right? I mean, you just don't stop talking to someone for nothing. So yeah, there's always going to be a reason, even if you're not able to articulate it in the way that the other person may need you to. It's still a situation where it is obviously something that happened, and hopefully they will be an opportunity for them to kind of talk about things and get some resolve for their situation. It does appear that she is still continuing to move forward with her little boutique, bougie and something, and I think that's great. She seems to be really into it, and she also did seem like she was going to make a better amends to having a better relationship moving forward with Rachel. So I would like to see that as well. And see if anyone else is doing anything more. I don't know about Margaret. I think Margaret's just doing kind of the same thing. She has her assistant, really, really good friend that's staying with her, and they still are. And she's just kind of moving along with life there. So nothing really much to say there. Teresa, we already know, gets married, and we're pretty much seeing all their stuff unfold at this point. Melissa and Joe, they were working on their housewarming for their new home that hopefully we'll get to see more of next season, because I am marking it. I want to see Joe and Teresa back with Melissa and the whole gang. I want to see them back next season. So hopefully we can see their beautiful home. They've always had beautiful homes. So that would be nice to see. Am I missing anybody? I think Jennifer Aiden, I can't even remember what the strip was on that, but it looks like, they're moving forward, doing okay. I know the counseling thing is still iffy, but her brother is back in town. So that was really nice. It was a beautiful moment with her and her sister-in-law. I absolutely adored Jennifer for what she did for her family. I think that was great. And I think that's basically everybody, right? Is anyone else? Anyone else that I'm missing, let me know. But I think that's everybody. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I just was so, I don't know, fascinated by this party, and I just wanted to get on and talk and discuss it with you guys, because I'm just like, get over this with these rumors already. But yeah, I just hope that there will be some, I don't know, some resolve at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen over the course of the next few episodes of this reunion. Because from what I understand, there's a lot of storming out and a lot of hurt feelings, and I don't think that things are going to be so smooth. And I think that everybody needed a break from everybody at the end of this reunion. So I've imagined there's going to be a lot of tears shedding, a lot of anger talk. It's going to be out there. They're probably going to talk about this rumor. They need to talk about this rumor. There has been some things in social media that has come out that I would like for them to address as well. Stuff with Gia and everything. And I just think it's really just sad that she is involved with the girls. And, it's just like Teresa and Joe, they're the adults of the situation. They're the siblings. They have got it to get it together, because it's just destroying the rest of the family. And why? So yeah, I just hope that things will work out, and I guess we'll just be here for the ride and see. So yeah, well, I think that about do it for this live. But yeah, just wanted to get up here and just kind of talk and chit chat, and I guess this is pretty much my wrap up, however you want to frame it, for Real Housewives of New Jersey before the reunion shows start. And I will be reviewing those per episode, because that's always a lot easier than trying to lump everything at one time. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. So I hope you will come back and watch for that. And of course, if you are new here, I hope that you will subscribe and be part of the family. We would love to have you. And, yeah, I would love to just know your thoughts about everything. New Jersey. What do you think? How did you feel about the season before even the reunion? Go ahead and jot that down. And if you're going to be watching and stuff, and if so, I hope you will come back and catch my recaps and reviews. And well, let's discuss a little bit on that as well. So yeah, there are going to be some still videos that I'll be doing here soon, uploading soon. So be on the lookout for that. So again, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you got your all notification bell on too, so you don't miss a video. And of course, for those who are already part of the family, thank you so much for your continued listening and viewing support. I so appreciate you. You know how much I appreciate you. And if you don't, I appreciate you. And I thank you so much. And so I think with that, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do another live today, but if not, I may do a still video for today, but we'll have to see. But in the meantime, let me know your thoughts about Real Housewives of New Jersey, what you thought about last night's brawl of the party, and just anything else about the season before we get ourselves wrapped up and ready to go for Real Housewives of New Jersey. I would so appreciate it. And I guess until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, take care, be safe, be blessed. And yeah, until then, bye.